Most people are playing a financial game that ended years ago, and they have absolutely no idea. They're still following the same advice their parents followed. Go to school, get a good job, save a little, buy a house, max out the 401k, and retire at 65 with a gold watch and a paid-off mortgage. That game is over. It ended quietly, without a headline, without a warning. And most people are still sitting at the table placing bets on rules that no longer exist. Goldman Sachs has already issued a specific warning for 2026 that should change everything about how you handle your money, your job, and your future. This isn't a doom prediction. This isn't a conspiracy. This is math. Cold, mechanical, undeniable math that's been building up for years and is about to hit a breaking point. Economists are calling it the point of no return. It's the moment when the middle class officially splits into two completely different futures, and there is no bridge between them. Once the split happens, you can't cross back over. One group is going to wake up in 2026 and realize they are, in their own words, rich on paper but broke in reality. Big house, nice car, solid LinkedIn title, and a checking account that screams every time rent is due. The other group, a much smaller group, is going to use the same quiet wealth strategies the top 1% have been using for decades. They won't look rich, they won't post about it. They'll just quietly reach financial escape velocity while everyone else argues online about whose fault it is. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly which side you're walking toward and the 3 moves you absolutely must make before the calendar flips to 2026. So let's get into it. The first thing you need to understand is why 2026 specifically. Why that year? Why not 2027 or 2030? The answer is simple. 2026 is the year the housing market finally explodes. Not prices, payments. A family earning $178,000 a year, which by any historical standard is an incredible income, cannot comfortably afford the average home in most major American cities anymore. Think about that for a second. $178,000. That's almost 3 times the median household income, and it's not enough. This is what I call the salary trap. On paper, you look successful. Your title has the word senior in it. Your tax bracket puts you in the top 20% of earners, but your bank account at the end of the month tells a completely different story. You're not saving. You're not investing meaningfully. You're not building anything. You're just surviving at a higher altitude. This is high-income poverty, and it's one of the most dangerous financial conditions in America right now because it's invisible. From the outside, you look fine. From the inside, you're drowning in silence. But it's not just houses. There's something else happening right now that almost nobody is talking about openly. I call it the quiet extraction. It's the slow, steady, almost invisible draining of wealth from the middle class through a combination of inflation, stagnant wages, hidden fees, and technological displacement. And the biggest engine of that extraction right now is AI. AI tools aren't just coming for jobs in some distant future. They're already causing what I call quiet demotions. Your company doesn't fire you. They don't need to. They just stop promoting you. They freeze your raises. They let inflation quietly demote you by 6, 7, 8% every single year, while the work you used to do gets handed off to a tool that costs $20 a month. You're still employed, you're just worth less every year, and nobody tells you. Meanwhile, the cost of absolutely everything else keeps climbing. Rent is up, groceries are up, insurance premiums are up, childcare is up, healthcare is up, utilities are up. And if you're sitting there relying on a single paycheck and the promise of a 401k match to carry you to retirement, you are walking straight into a minefield and you don't even know it. Some financial experts are now openly calling the traditional 401k match a scam. Not because the matched money isn't real, but because of how much of it quietly disappears into expense ratios, administrative fees, bad fund choices, and unfavorable tax timing over 30 or 40 years. When you actually run the numbers, the amount of free money that gets silently clawed back by fees is staggering. People think they're getting rich through their 401k. In reality, a huge chunk of that growth is being skimmed off the top before they ever see it. Things that used to be worth it, universally worth it, are becoming straight-up liabilities as we move into 2026. The bigger house, the newer car, the 4-year college degree for your kid. A lot of these used to be wealth-building moves. Now they're wealth-destroying ones. The rules changed and nobody sent out a memo. But I'm sending one now. Now, while the middle class is being slowly taxed into tyranny, the ultra-wealthy are running a completely different game. And the game has a name. It's called buy, borrow, die. And it is by far one of the most important financial concepts you will ever learn. Here's how it works, and the crazy part is that it's 100% legal. Step 1 is buy. The wealthy buy appreciating assets, stocks, real estate, businesses, private equity. They don't buy things that lose value. They buy things that gain value over time. Step 2 is borrow. This is the magic trick. They never sell their assets, ever, because selling triggers capital gains taxes, and taxes are the single biggest wealth killer in existence. Instead, they go to a bank and borrow against those assets at incredibly low interest rates. The bank gives them cash to live on, to invest with, to buy more assets with, and because borrowed money is not considered income, they pay zero taxes on it. Step 3 is die. When they eventually pass away, their heirs inherit the assets at what's called a stepped-up cost basis, which means all those decades of capital gains that were never taxed, poof, gone, wiped clean. The heirs can sell the assets with almost no tax liability at all. Meanwhile, you pay taxes on your paycheck before you even see it. They pay taxes on almost nothing for generations. This is how dynasties are built. This is how old money stays old money. And the wildest part is that none of this is hidden. It's all in plain sight. They just don't teach you about it in school because school wasn't designed to make you rich. It was designed to make you a reliable employee. But here's another layer almost nobody knows. Banks have classes. Your bank has a tier system and they treat you completely differently depending on which tier you fall in. The friendly teller smiling at you while charging you a $35 overdraft fee is not the same bank that's serving the person upstairs with $2 million in managed assets. That person gets a dedicated advisor, free wire transfers, preferential interest rates, private lending products, and tax strategy sessions. You get an app that charges you for looking at your own money the wrong way. And here's something that'll sound strange, but completely true. Banks actually fear people who keep $20,000 in cash, not because it's dangerous to them, but because it gives you power. That cash cushion is freedom. It means you can walk away from a bad job. You can refuse a quiet demotion. You can say no to predatory debt. You can negotiate from strength instead of desperation. Most Americans are 2 paychecks away from disaster, and that desperation is exactly what keeps the system running. A $20,000 cash reserve breaks the cycle. It changes every conversation you have with your employer, your landlord, your creditor. Control flips. So the goal for 2026 isn't just to have money. The goal is stealth wealth. It means passing the quiet tests that prove you are genuinely rich instead of being what I call fake rich, cosplaying success with flashy logos and financed luxury goods. The real flex in 2026 isn't a Rolex. It's not needing one. It's the person driving a 10-year-old Toyota to a paid-off house with a 7-figure brokerage account nobody knows about. That's the future. Loud people are broke. Quiet people own things. Now let's talk about how you actually escape, because all of this doom is useless without a plan. You have to hit what's called the tipping point, and to get there, you need to understand something about compounding that most people quit before they ever experience. Here's the brutal truth. At the beginning, compounding feels absolutely pointless. You invest $500 and earn $3. You save for an entire year and your account barely moves. You start to wonder if any of this is even worth it. This is exactly why 90% of people give up right before the math starts working in their favor. They quit during the flat part of the curve, the part that lasts the longest and feels the worst. And then they watch other people cross the threshold 5 years later and assume those people got lucky. They didn't get lucky, they just didn't quit. Once you cross your first $100,000, your money starts behaving like a completely different species. It stops crawling and starts sprinting. This is what's known as the 8-4-3 rule, or sometimes the 7-5-3-1 rule, depending on who's teaching it. It might take you 8 years to grow your first $100,000, but the next $100,000 only takes about 4 years. The one after that, 3 years. Eventually, your portfolio is generating a full $100,000 a year in growth all by itself, while you sleep, while you're at work, while you're on vacation. And here's the part that might genuinely change your life if you let it sink in. If you can put away just $25 to $35 a week, about the cost of 2 takeout meals, into the right low-cost broad market index funds, the math shows that that simple weekly habit can eventually surpass the income of a full-time job. Not supplement it, surpass it. The boring, unsexy $25 a week habit is a wealth machine. It just doesn't look like one for the first 10 years. You don't need to be a millionaire to start. You don't need a windfall, you don't need a side hustle, a crypto moonshot, or a real estate empire. You just need to understand one specific number: $250,000. That number is the acceleration point. It's the moment when your portfolio's annual growth finally outpaces your annual contributions. Before that point, you're dragging your money up a hill. After that point, the hill starts dragging you. Everything before 250,000 is hard. Everything after it is gravity. If you can just get to that number, almost everything else takes care of itself. So what do you actually do right now before 2026 arrives? 3 moves. Write them down somewhere, you'll see them every single day. The first move is to audit your worthless assets. There are about 7 specific purchases that will be worth approximately 0 after the next major economic correction. New cars financed on long loans, timeshares, luxury goods bought for resale value that will never materialize, status items purchased with borrowed money, depreciating electronics marketed as investments, boats, jet skis, and recreational vehicles bought in peak optimism. Anything that loses 40% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot, take it out of the box, or sign the contract. Stop paying what I call the logo tax. That's the extra 200, 300, sometimes 500% you pay for a product just because it has the right name stamped on it. The logo doesn't make you rich, it just makes the company rich. If something loses value the moment you swipe your card, it is not an asset, it is a leash. The second move is to adopt minimalist money rules, specifically the Japanese-style approach to frugality. The philosophy is called Kakebo, and it's essentially a system of intentional spending. You don't restrict yourself arbitrarily, you just ask very specific questions before every purchase. Do I actually need this? Will I still want this in 30 days? Is there a higher quality version I should buy once instead of a cheap version I'll replace 5 times? The principle is simple. Quality over quantity, systems over willpower. Own less but own better. Track every single dollar you spend for the next 30 days and you will be genuinely horrified by where your money is actually going. That horror is the most valuable gift you can give your future self. It is almost mathematically impossible to stay broke if you follow these daily habits consistently for even 2 years. The third move is to position yourself for the wealth transfer. Over the next decade, we are entering the largest intergenerational wealth transfer in human history. An estimated $84 trillion will move from the baby boomer generation to Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. 84 trillion. That's a number so large it doesn't even feel real, but it's happening. The question isn't whether the money will move, it absolutely will. The question is whether you will be positioned to catch any of it, or whether you'll watch it flow past you into somebody else's pockets. Being positioned means learning the 3 specific skills that make a person unreplaceable in an AI-dominated economy. Skill number 1 is human judgment, the ability to make complex decisions with incomplete information in high-stakes environments. AI can recommend, AI can calculate, AI cannot truly decide when the data is messy, contradictory, and emotional. That's a human job, and it's going to stay a human job for a very long time. Skill number 2 is relationship building. AI can write a perfect email in 3 seconds, but AI cannot close a 7-figure deal over dinner. It cannot earn trust. It cannot look someone in the eye and mean it. The entire economy runs on relationships, and relationships are getting rarer as screens replace faces. Skill number 3 is capital allocation, knowing what to do with money once you have it. This is the skill the ultra-wealthy have been quietly mastering for generations while everyone else was focused on just earning a bigger paycheck. Earning money is a skill. Keeping money is a different skill. Growing money is a third, completely separate skill, and almost nobody teaches the last 2. These 3 skills have one thing in common. They appreciate as AI gets better. Everything else depreciates. Every hour you spend sharpening B's 3 will be worth more in 2026 than it is today. So let's bring this home. Here's the statistic that genuinely keeps me up at night. 90% of Americans will never retire comfortably. They will reach age 65, look at their 401k balance, look at their social security statement, look at their home equity, and realize with a sinking feeling in their stomach that they fell for the middle-class investment traps. The same traps their parents fell for, the same traps their grandparents warned them about right before it was too late. They followed the rules exactly as they were given. They did everything right by the playbook, and the playbook was written for a world that doesn't exist anymore. Don't let that be you. Don't let 30 years slip by and then have that conversation with yourself in the mirror. 2026 is coming whether you're ready or not. The point of no return doesn't care about your intentions, your plans, or your feelings. It only cares about your position. Where is your money sitting? What assets do you actually own? What skills have you built? What systems are running in your life right now on autopilot, in your favor or against you? You can be a victim of this shift. You can be one of the millions who gets caught on the wrong side of the split, still believing the old rules will save you. Or you can be the person who saw it coming, made the 3 moves, used the quiet wealth strategies of the top 1%, and slowly, silently disappeared from the rat race while everyone else was still arguing online about who to blame. The choice is yours, but you have to make it before the calendar flips, not after, not someday, now. The quietest decisions are the loudest ones when you look back on your life in 20 years, so make the quiet decision today. Open the brokerage account, cancel the subscription, sell the worthless asset, start the weekly transfer, read the book, build the skill, do the boring thing that compounds into an extraordinary life. If this shifted something in your brain, even just 1%, stay tuned, because the next breakdown is about the 7 specific worthless assets that will be worth 0 after the next economic shift, and you absolutely do not want to be holding any of them when 2026 finally arrives. The people who see this early are the ones who walk out of the next decade wealthier, freer, and quieter than they've ever been. Be one of them.